all these like technologies, they've been around for a long time, like for 10 plus years, and they can already handle like thousands or hundreds of thousands of people. So, it's been there for a long time. People already use it. Like in this case, I think that's the meaning from Sun. I know IBM also used to do some meetings in Second Life. So now we can basically put the Google, like the Oculus Rift on and basically be immersed and have a meeting. So that's already possible right now. And basically, if you want to have meetings, in VR, you also want to see what, everybody has an avatar in 3D, and you basically also want to see other people's face, if they're smiling, if they're angry, or something like that. So, for example, like, this is like for the movie Lord of the Rings, right? So these guys, the real actor behind Gollum, so if he's like basically doing this face, they have like a technology to capture this guy's face, and they will like automatically in real time like show that on the 3D avatar, right? So like to the face or that face, if you're in a meeting with someone, you actually want to know, how it looks like. And then so basically like this technology has been used for a long time. If you want after that, I can show you like just using a webcam. You can like already a cheap webcam. Any computer has it. You can already capture your face, and in real time your avatar will change. So this technology already exists. But now the challenge is like when you're wearing a VR headset, it's basically like covering your face. So for example, for eye tracking or eyebrows, the camera, the webcam cannot know what you're doing. So there's solutions for that, and like companies are working on that. For example, to embed 2 tiny cameras in the VR headset, so you can track your eyes, and so that in VR people can also see where you're looking at and what you're doing with that. So the technology already exists, but there's no like consumer product out there that can do that. But I think as social VR is going to take off, I think like manufacturers will start to actually embed these kind of things in the headset. So once you're like in a meeting and you're in a VR space and you can see each other, you can talk to each other, you can see people's face and expression, you still want to be able to actually see how people are moving. Just for example, like body language is pretty important, but also if you want to interact, with the VR world, you also want to be able to, trigger a button or like show something to someone, this type of stuff. So like there's a lot of companies right now are working on solution for like input device, so that they can basically see your hands in VR and you can interact with the world. So there's a lot of companies that don't want to move too much into details, but they're basically using like all the different ways, and I think you can like classify them in 3 types. So there's like 3 cameras. This is what I use now. For example, like the Kinect, if I go really private, like it's tracking my. You can see like basically it's too small, but you can see. It's not perfect, but it works. So there's the Kinect, like for the whole body tracking. There's the lead motion. Yeah, if I'm not in front of it, then he doesn't know. So yeah, so it's not working perfectly. What's the lead motion is for the hand, so you basically have like that on the headset. I think we have a couple of products like lead motion over there. Yeah, and there's all the devices. For example, that one is something you wear, and you basically have wear it, and it does know where your body is and what it's doing. This one is something you put in your hand, and it's all working with electromagnetic tracking. So you have a base station, and then you track that in space, so you know exactly where it is. And then there's like the valve HTC thing. So it's just like laser based, and yeah, this is just a different way to do it. And you can track like many objects at the same time. It's pretty.
What's going on?
Sorry. Yeah. And so basically a lot of people are working on that info-device stuff. But I don't know if someone has tried AdSpace VR here. It's like a social VR platform. So I tried it last weekend. And basically you can do a lot of stuff in there. You can meet with people. This is like the room in AdSpace VR. So you can go there and watch movies with your friends, talk to each other, browse YouTube or Yoku. And then, for example, you choose like a Yoku video, and then boom, you put it on the main screen, and then everybody can watch it at the same time. You can also play chess. You can do a bunch of stuff. And basically, I spent like about an hour in there, and the only thing they use only like keyboard and mouse, and it works perfectly. I mean, just with keyboard and mouse, you can actually do pretty much everything. So we don't necessarily like need to have very complex like 3D device. For example, for meetings, we might just need like a mouse and a keyboard, and that might work just fine. Yeah, and there's a bunch of things that you can do in VR that you cannot do in real life. So for example, like in this example, you can have like, if you're like engineers and then you're working on a project, on a new product, you basically can bring in the 3D model in front of you in VR and look at it. Or you can have like a lot of different screens, and maybe I should do like that. So basically, for example, just to give an example, like in this virtual space, so if you're like an engineer, you can like bring in some models and look at it together. You can do that, or you can like basically do like add some more screen wherever you want. For example, here. And then here, and then you can do this. You can do a bunch of stuff you cannot really do like
very cool
in real world. So there is a bunch of people. So there's a lot of things like on the software side, so that can be done. Yeah. So I think in general, like the technology is good enough already to make like really good. VR software, like the headsets are going to become cheaper and smaller and higher resolution. But I mean, in average, we can already do a lot of stuff with it. So, but there's a lot of experiments on more like on the user interface and user experience side, just to experiment what can be done, how we should do things, and the path to mainstream adoption. So, for example, just to talk like about meetings more specifically, I think. First, I think it's going to start with social VR, with like people starting to like, use that to hang out with friends and watch movies and things like that. But I think business are going to jump in pretty quickly because you basically can like save a lot of money. For example, if you're a business and you don't have to fly people in and out and pay for air tickets and hotels and all this stuff, like just to have meetings. So I think in general, like social VR and meetings in VR is probably going to take off. Because there's a lot of incentive for business to use that. And yeah, and then this is the end of the presentation basically. So, any questions in Chinese? I guess it's okay if you want to. No question? Yes, so maybe.
Cool, okay. Thanks for it. Do I press N to go forward?
Yeah, N is the next.
Yay, okay. 那麻烦你，我没有时间翻译我的 PPT， 还有我的中文说的不太好，所以都是英文。So I'm sorry. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, give you an overview of the state of the VR industry. Whoa, that was all the lights go off. The state of the VR industry, designing for VR, and then I'm going to make 5 predictions at the end of where I think we'll be in 2 years and what kind of advances we're going to have. And feel free to just write down, you should write down my name, put it in your calendar 2 years from now. Put my email address as christian@nyu.edu, and if I'm wrong, just say, ha, you suck, right? Just put it in your calendar. I'm more than happy to hear that. All right, so this is the first VR device. And this is the Sensorama, and it was built in 1950. It was built in the 1950s. I think maybe 1956. I don't really have my notes, so it's hard to see all the features that it has here for you people in the room, but it had things like aromas, and it shook, and it had 3D. This was really in the 50s. Computers weren't really around here. So VR is old. VR is really old. So where are we at? Where are we at now? So I believe that it's going to be the biggest change in technology since the smartphone. That leap from the Nokia brick until the Sony Ericsson or whatever the phone that was, and then all the way till today when everybody's got a smartphone in their hand. I think it's absolutely the biggest change in technology. There's billions of US dollars that have been invested, and this number is growing exponentially at the moment around the world. Why? Why is it growing, right? And I think what you're going to find today when you get to try this tech is you're going to try it and you're going to be, wow, or maybe it'll make you a little sick, or you say, whoa, I can definitely see where this is going. A lot of people are doing the same thing, and they feel like this is something worth investing in. Facebook bought Oculus for $2 billion last year. Microsoft is in the race. They have been for a while. There have been investments. Google invested $500 million in an augmented reality tech called Magic Leap. I have a question mark there because it remains to be seen if they're actually, was that a good investment or not? But we don't have to talk about that until the end if you guys really feel like it. Okay, so I'll start with the Oculus Rift, and I'll briefly. And let me also say these photos are not mine. I mean, there's credits at the end. Like I think this is the guys from Tested, really cool blog. They took this photo. It's awesome. So I used it. But what is this? What is this headset? Here's the specifications. Don't pay too much attention to those right now. The screen size, the latency. I'm not even sure those are final. It's likely those will change. My idea. What are some of the pros and cons? What's good and what's bad about it? So it has integrated audio. It's got highly accurate positional tracking. Any headset you're going to see come out is going to have those things. What are the shortcomings? It's not ready for consumers. We don't know when it's going to come out. So there's VR developers here today. Ask them how they feel about that. They're probably not very happy because they need to know, right? They're investing their time, they're investing their money. So within the relatively small kind of VR enthusiast and developer community now, that's a big deal. Is when is it going to be ready? And the other thing is it doesn't have an input device that we know of. And so that's very important. Input is important. This is the Vive, or Vive? Vive. The HTC Vive with Steam VR. These are base stations. They're class 1 lasers at the moment, I think, which are very dangerous, but sound cool. These are controllers with 5 or more. What happened when I did that? Yeah, and then you have your headset. So there's some large technical differences in the way Oculus approaches this and the way that HTC or Valve approaches it. The pros: full room tracking, very cool. You can walk around; it'll know where you're at. To an extremely high degree of precision. Shortcomings: you need space. You need space to walk around in. You might need to devote a room in your house. And I can imagine like trying to do full room VR in this space. I'd be hurting. I'd be walking into all these things. It'd be a bad thing. Might be expensive. We don't know how much it's going to cost. No prices yet. The Morpheus. This is the best looking headset. This is for the PS4. Sony's been working on this for a while. What's great about it is people have skipped my slide. People have had a chance to test this, and they're feeling like Sony is a definite contender. The biggest pro I see from the PS4, the Morpheus, is you have 20 million plus PS4s in the wild. They've sold 20 million of them, so if they just get a small percentage of people who have PS4s to pay whatever it's going to cost for this device, then it's going to only help VR. Whether you have a PS4 or not, I don't know if it'll be worth going out and buying a PS4 than buying this thing, but the tech sounds exciting. I'll skip the slide I had about comparison and go to this one. So I wanted to talk a little bit about designing for VR, and I gave this talk last week at VRChat. How many of you were at VRChat? Yeah, VRChat is really this cool untech event. I won't go too much into it, but anyway, I gave a version of this presentation, and I had this slide happen after I had asked for a volunteer from the audience to come down, put on his headset, and then go into this very simple demo I had made the night before, where you go up very high, and then I drop you down and you fall, right? And you get very close to the ceiling, and you're supposed to do, like, I wonder if he's going to do it. That, right? It's not really there. The ceiling's not there, but you're still feeling like it's there. And then afterwards, I said, what's wrong with that? Like, he wasn't able to touch anything. He had no agency. So that is very, very important. Another thing that's important is when you're thinking about this and you're in these virtual environments, even today, try to imagine changing the status quo a little bit. So this is the world's first, to my knowledge, steering wheel, right? It's a steering wheel. Let's just say it's a steering wheel. Some guy designed a steering wheel. It acts like a boat. It's a rudder. Bad design, right? I'm not saying that everybody thought that was great, but don't just take what you know and port it over. So that's why if you look around this environment that I built, I said, what's the craziest, weirdest thing I can build, whether it's good or not? Oh, let's have an island floating in some space, and then that's where we give our presentation. It's not normal. It's not what you would normally think. And you can see some of these people here, right? They're definitely not normal looking, except for that guy. He's also not very normal looking. Right? I will skip the YouTube clip, but it was generally kind of the same premise. Like, it was from a movie. I don't remember the name of it, but it had Michael Douglas, and he was infiltrating some company's network in virtual reality, and he went in and he was looking for a file. So he literally was walking through a room full of filing cabinets to find the file for the person. Not smart. It's not how I would design that. I mean, I would probably just, do something very fast to be able to do a lookup. It was essentially that kind of idea, like think differently. So let's do a little exercise. Use your imagination, right? So what could you do with a 110-degree field of view headset, full room tracking, and 3D audio? So I thought of a few. First, I want to make a drum simulator, but like one where you're playing drums and it's perfect, right? It's like you get the tactile feedback, but you're in like this huge crowd. You have like 10,000 people cheering at you, and you're playing with the band. That would be very cool. I would like that. So just thinking through those kind of environments, what could you do? I could visit the Hermitage. I was just there a couple weeks ago, and beautiful place. But you know what kind of made me sad is two things. One, many people can't go there. They just don't have the opportunity. And two, most of the artwork is behind closed doors. Like most of the world's art and its sculpture and everything else is sitting somewhere where we can't actually access it. Another one, virtual shopping, right? You can imagine how great that would be if you want to buy a product, you want to look at some clothes or anything, you could put on your headset and you could actually take a look at it. You might not be able to touch and feel it, but you can at least experience it. And if I were doing that, I don't know if I would just take the store. I might just change it up a little bit. I might think about what's a great, if I'm a retailer, right, I might think, what am I trying to sell? And how can I best give an environment that makes you feel like you want to buy it? So it could be a nice beach, and there's like, I don't know, somebody with a bathing suit on, and you want to buy the bathing suit. Meetings. Florian talked about meetings. So you could do meetings in VR, but you could do them in space. So you're not stuck in the meeting room. So take that. I think that's actually would be a very cool thing. Now a little bit about design and room scale VR. Is like what's going to happen when you hit a wall? Like what about when you hit a wall in real life, but the environment that you have is not, it's like a hallway, but I see this hallway, what am I going to do? I'm running into the wall. How do you solve for that? That's tough. And I think that the way we solve it is you get more and more people, more and more developers, more and more people have the headset, and they're able to experiment. It's really the only way that we're going to be able to figure this out. A little bit about immersive learning. You can imagine, I work at a university, and so, our business is classroom, teaching young people. It's been changing, but essentially we still have lots of classrooms. They have tables, you sit in them, I stand at the front of the room, I talk at you. That's the way it's been for a long time, especially in China, right? That's generally the model. Maybe that model works. I mean, I think one of the things with VR, we have to be honest, is if I've got a headset on, I can't take notes. I don't even, stuff like that's not going to work. But there are other experiences that could. Like if I want to, like talking on a macro scale, if I want to get understand quantum mechanics, or I want to see how cells or actually work, or I want to see how molecules are interacting, you can do that well. You can do that in VR, and the hardware and technology exists to do that today to begin to teach people a little bit more and kind of engage them. The other thing, in terms of like education, is we can save a lot of money. So imagine all the, I don't know if you guys dissected frogs and dissected like pigs when you were in like science class. At least we'd save a lot of lives. Like, you could dissect it in virtual reality instead of actually dissecting it there. Or maybe it's, I took chemistry, I took basic chemistry, and I mixed stuff together. I didn't have an intention of being a chemist, and maybe you could have just had me go in VR and mix stuff there, and then you wouldn't have had to buy the chemicals. So there could certainly be a market for that. So where are we now? Where are we in VR today? So this is a picture of cell phones lined up from the first kind of model of a cell phone to the Samsung Note 3 or Note 4, I don't know, one that's relatively new. Oh, this is a little bit out of order, but let me see. Yeah, it's missing one. So we'll just talk it through. So 90s VR was something called the virtuality, and I remember going to a mall in my hometown and paying like $10 US, which back then was, I hate saying this back then, it makes it sound so old. Back then it was probably like 15, is it like paying $15 US today, or like e-buy renminbi? Like a lot of money for 2 minutes in this huge headset, and you'd stand there and you'd kind of walk around with bad graphics. That was VR in the 1990s. That industry failed. It failed. But it paved the way. The cell phones didn't fail, as we know. So this is 30 years until today. This is the first version of the Oculus Rift that came out maybe 2 years ago. Over 2 years ago now? Over 2 years ago. You are going to be trying the DK2 today. That was out about a year, maybe a year and a half ago. I equate it to, not the Nokia brick, it's probably somewhere between the Nokia brick and the first smartphone. So what I think is that the Morpheus, the Crescent Bay, the Vive are all like the first gen smartphones. So now this is a timeline. So in cell phone time, it took 15 years from the Nokia brick that we got to today. The first iPhone came out 8 years ago, and now we all have phones that's better than that, most of us at least. Now in VR space, it took us 2 years to get from the DK1 to the DK2, and now we're sitting here today, probably a month or two away from being able to try the first smartphone. So everything you're trying here, in my opinion, it's not the first smartphone. It's getting there. The stuff that you're going to be able to try a year from now, or maybe even less, will be the first smartphone. And then when do we get to the iPhones? When do we get to that level where it's just like, I don't know what you could do to innovate in cell phones today that would really blow people away. There's probably some things we haven't thought of. Maybe they're so light and they curve, and maybe they're disposable. I don't know. But those are all crazy thoughts, right, at this point in time. So I'm going to make predictions. So I'm going to throw out 5 predictions for the year 2018. First one, I think tracking will be, it'll be 99. This slide is 95. I think it'll be 99% perfect within 2 years. There's not going to be a magic bullet though. I think that what you're going to need to do to track is a couple of different solutions. I think you'll get full room tracking. I think you're going to need tracking that's magnetic or mechanical for the fingers. I think you're going to need controllers that provide haptic feedback. That's why I said controllers will be better than finger tracking. It's just, I can't imagine if you want to grab something in VR, you're not going to be able to grab it, but a controller can at least simulate what that feeling might be. Number 2, virtual reality will completely cure a disease. Completely cure AIDS, but a controller can at least simulate like a fear of heights, right? It might be a disease like fear of spiders, but I do think that VR will completely cure a disease by 2018. Number 3, every flagship cell phone will be marketed as VR capable. So they'll put this in their marketing. It'll be a bullet point. It'll be something that you see in a commercial. Be like, yeah, you can do VR with this right out of the box. I really believe that'll happen. Number 4, a single VR seat at the Super Bowl will generate $50 million US. One seat. One seat, front of the Super Bowl, $200 a seat. At least 100,000, 200,000 people will pay for that seat, and you will sit 2 years from now. Replace this with your favorite sporting event. I don't know what I'm doing in the corner there. There we go. He agrees. And the 5th one, Pixar will release a full-length VR film. So those are my predictions. Those are mine. Anybody else have any other predictions? Anybody? No? Yeah? No? Okay. So the last thing, I just wanted to thank all of you for coming. This has been pretty awesome. Our first meetup was, wow, like it was before Chinese New Year. We had 40 people here. Who was at the first meetup that we had? Nice. All right. So there were 40 people there. Today we'll probably pull 500 people throughout the day, maybe. So this is incredible growth, and it definitely shows that there's a lot of interest here. So I just want to, I hope that you guys mingle. I hope you meet each other. I hope you get excited about this stuff. You can find me on these sites. You can email me, whatever. That's it. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. Questions?
Can you hear us?
Yes, Patty. So,
Yeah, I don't think Chris in Shanghai, I think he turned it off. Like, he can't hear us.
I don't. Well, I'm waiting. Basically what I'm waiting to see is can they solve motion sickness, and can this device can it be safe to use, like safe in the sense that can we all experience this and have no adverse side effects, no issues? If it's safe for consumption, then I believe that, I don't want to go so far as to say I believe this replaces something like the television, right, in your home. But I think it'll have a place in the average person's home. So I don't think you carry it around with you everywhere like a cell phone. I think it'll be between peripheral device that you would buy if you were buying a game console. You're like, I really want this, like the Kinect, right? It'll certainly be more popular than the Kinect. Not as popular as the cell phone. Any other questions? No? Okay. Thanks, guys.
Should we plug that into the stand?
Yeah, we should say bye to everybody in the meeting.
Yeah. I was thinking about that for...
And if everybody joining in VRChat, thank you so much. Sorry the weird movement here.
Thank you.
You know, we don't have any.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to be interested to see what you do with the faces over time and converge. Yeah, especially once we get hand tracking, that's going to be interesting. Have you thought about like having just like two-dimensional pictures on the face? Yeah.
I love
I think
that
I told
idea.
you. Yeah, I think I told you about food that didn't go.
Take a screenshot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone go and take a photo. Maybe 50.
Yeah, you can just...
I'm actually still recording.
Yeah, so just click directly there.
Oh, okay. I can do it.
Who wants to do it now?
Take two. Well. Can someone take a picture? Raymond, can you
Get 7654T. Take a screenshot.
Raymond's coming.
Unta.
Turn around, Sam. Brandon's gonna take a photo, Sam. What are you doing?
Actually, this is a good time to test. We should be able to take mono screenshots in VRChat by pressing F12. So even if you're wearing a pressing set and you press F12, you should get a mono screenshot. Looking good, Gunter.
Gunter?